This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to call the village board to order for Tuesday, August 23rd. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kodowski.
Here.
Trustee Paul.
Here.
Trustee Krieger.
Here.
And Trustee Flukie. Here. Trustee Kubaki, Zerbal, and Service are all excused.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remember our men and women throughout the world in uniform at this time. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve, please.
Move to approve as presented. Second.
Motion and a second to approve as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion on the open and closed minutes from July 26, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 6, comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda, must state your name and address. You're limited to 5 minutes. The board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personnel issues cannot be discussed nor individuals named, and the board is not able to take action at this meeting. Is there anybody on virtually that would like to make any comments from the public on items not on the agenda? Or is there anybody in the audience that would like to make comments on items not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Number 7, written communications and/or announcements. Okay, so I'm going to start this off. We had our sesquicentennial. I practiced that for 14 months. We had our sesquicentennial, and I just have to say that it was a great success. I want to thank everybody sitting over at that staff table. They did an outstanding job. Our trustees did a great job. We have such great support in our community from our business community, and it was amazing. So it was a 1-week-long celebration, and it's over, and we'll still celebrate this year. So anyway, and also there's a few comments people sent in. Steve on our Public Works Department, what a great job they've done with chipping and not leaf pickup yet, but they sucked leaves out of a sewer, and yeah, so just some good stuff. And it's always nice to hear those great things when we have them from the residents, because we don't always hear that. We usually hear when people are complaining. So thank you very much for everybody who writes those in. Anybody else have any written comments or announcements?
I just had a question from a resident in regard to the West Main roundabout islands. And
Yeah.
he had stopped me and asked if those islands were the village's responsibility or if it was De Pere's. And he said, the ones that are further to the east look really nice.
Yep.
But unfortunately, the one coming into Ashwaubenon looks terrible, and it makes Ashwaubenon look bad.
We're going to put a welcome to De Pere sign in that, because that is De Pere's.
Okay, and I did tell him I believe that it was
Yep.
De Pere's.
Yep.
But is there any movement on this? Because we've talked about this for about a year.
Joel
and
actually
it looks really bad this year. It always
Touch
has, but-
base.
Yeah, I've attempted to make contact with the Public Works Director for the City of De Pere and the City Administrator. I believe the maintenance responsibility operationally for De Pere is run through their Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department. I have not gotten direct contact over there. I know who works there, but I have not received direct response to the maintenance activities for that roundabout. I can certainly do that again and forward it to that department. I don't know for certain. I just speculate because when I emailed directly to the Public Works Director, he had responded and carbon copied or courtesy copied the individuals that run the Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department. So I can only assume that that's who is responsible for roundabout maintenance. They are aware of the situation. They just haven't moved on actually doing anything.
All right, so we know for a fact that it's their responsibility. So when I tell people that,
Yes.
I'm telling them that it's not our responsibility.
I think what I can certainly do is alert them that our fire department, our public safety department is interested in doing a practice burn on the center of the roundabout. Maybe we'll get some traction that way.
There you go. All right, thank you.
Or we could show up at one of their council meetings. And bring it up.
Yeah. Bring pictures.
I think
Yeah.
the council member was sitting there this afternoon, or this morning, parked on the roundabout. Like a parking lot. I thought, looks kind of weird to me, but I
Wow.
think it's an issue.
Okay, any other comments or written communications? Okay, moving on. Number 8, recognition of award to State Representative Dave Steffen for the League, from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Kurt, Tony, Dave, come on up.
All right, thank you, President Kardowski, members of the Village Board, for allowing the League of Wisconsin Municipalities to spend a few minutes of your meeting to recognize the person on my right as a municipal champion in the state legislature. So Representative Steffen, this won't be the first, this is not the first time we've recognized Representative Steffen, and I'm going to say a few things about him. But before I do, let me just introduce myself and talk a little bit about our thankfulness that the village of Ashwaubenon is an active member of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. So I'm Kurt Watinsky. I'm Deputy Director of the association, and I've been the league's main lobbyist for the last 22 years, but I'm phasing out of that. I'm actually retiring at the end of this year. And Tony Herkert, is our Government Affairs Director, and she'll be taking the lead in the next legislative session and advocating on behalf of cities and villages throughout the state. And many of you may be familiar with Tony. She worked for Senator Coles for 10 years before we hired her and took her away. And she grew up not too far away in Bellevue. So she's a Brown County person. So we're very pleased to have her. A little bit about the league, you may not know, but we have 190 cities in the state and about 410 villages. And all but about 6 or 7 villages are members, and all the cities are members of our association, including Ashwaubenon. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Ashwaubenon for your active participation in our association over the years. In my time at the league, I had the pleasure and honor of working with village presidents who were presidents of the league. So Ted Pamprin, Jerry Menny, and Mike Obinger was on our board. I don't think he was president, but he was on our board for a number of years. And then most recently, you've shared your staff, your excellent staff with the league also to help in training that we put on. And so Joel, your administrator, most recently helped with our webinar on budgeting basics. So we very much appreciate you sharing your staff and your elected officials and participating actively in the league. But we are here this evening to recognize and honor Wisconsin State Representative Dave Steffen. He's one of 8 municipal champions this session for the 21-22 legislative session. Now, there are many members in the Wisconsin State Legislature who, support their local governments and support the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. But we wanted to recognize those who are particularly helpful for cities and villages. And by that, I mean they introduced legislation at our request or in conjunction with us, or they helped block bad legislation. Say they were a committee chair and they declined to move legislation that we thought was negative or bad for local governments. And the league is happy to work with all legislators, but again, we want to recognize a few of them. And so today, we're recognizing Representative Steffen. I would say, since Representative Steffen took office in the state legislature in, I think, January of 2015 is when I first met you, he's been our strongest ally in certainly the assembly that we could depend on session after session in advocating for legislation that we were seeking, and also just educating his caucus members about the impact of legislation on cities and villages. Just laid it out there saying, this is what it's going to mean for your city or village if you proceed down this policy direction. And we always appreciated having him as an ally in the caucus. He's also often he was a member of committees where local government legislation went to. So local government committee, Ways and Means, and other committees. And in that capacity, he would educate committee members there as well. So this This session in particular, we are recognizing Representative Steffen for a couple pieces of legislation he introduced for us and worked through the legislative process, which is not an easy task to do in this. It's never an easy task, but right now we're in this dynamic where it's just difficult. We have split control of state capitol, partisan control of state capitol, and it's difficult to move legislation through that you could also get the governor to sign on to, and vice versa. But we were able to do that with Representative Steffen's help on couple of bills. So he was the author of Act 61, which clarified that personal property aid payments that go to TIF districts in your community would continue to flow through to your community after the TIF district closes. That was something DOR was not interpreting the law the way we anticipated. We had to change the law, and Representative Steffen helped us accomplish that. He also worked with us to amend a piece of legislation that we initially opposed, had to do with municipal raise orders, and it was sought by the insurance industry. Tony worked closely with Representative Steffen to work out a compromise amendment that addressed our concerns about the bill in a way that we could move from opposition to neutral. And that's basically the ideal way for the legislature to work. And we thank Representative Steffen for being in the position he was and being willing to articulate our concerns on our behalf and have those amendments made. So, Representative Steffen, thank you for everything you've done over the years, and I've enjoyed working with you since 2016.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. Boy, it sounded like my retirement speech you were giving there. Well, thank you for the award. Thank you for the Village of Ashwaubenon for allowing this to be part of your agenda tonight. So I started my political career as a local trustee, spent 7 years on the Village of Howard Board of Trustees, and so it's incredibly formative to me as to how I look at issues, and so that's part of the reason why it's been important to me. Second reason is you guys are almost always right on the issues in terms of the perspective that's coming at it. Not all groups are. That doesn't mean that they don't get what they want. And the third is the underdog nature that I enjoy being a part of. Just on that particular issue relating to working with in a sometimes contentious environment with the insurance community, just to give you perspective, there are more insurance lobbyists that would be involved in that than are in this entire room.
Yes.
And the opposite side of that were these two people. And so when it comes to being right on the issue, part of my personal life story and having the opportunity to fight the underdog fight is something that has been very rewarding to me. So I'm going to miss Kurt, but very thankful to be in the capable hands of Tony going forward on all issues. And certainly you, Mary, and others, Mary and I speak frequently, but the rest of you, I hope you always feel comfortable contacting me on issues of state relevance. I take this position seriously, and in particular, I have a thirst and interest for municipal issues. So thank you again for allowing me to be a part of your agenda, and thank you again to Kurt and Tony and the League of Municipalities for the recognition.
Thank you, David. I neglected to say that we actually have a little token of our appreciation for David and Tony. Tony actually put this together. Why don't you describe?
Yeah, so we have 2 glasses that have the district, they say home, they have the district etched on them. And then we have 2 coasters that say League of Wisconsin Municipalities, Municipal Champion for 2021-2022. And we're really happy to award it to Representative Steffen tonight. Kurt mentioned the raise order bill. Quick, funny side story. That was the first bill I actually worked on my own for the league. Kurt and Jerry kind of said, go do this thing. And I'm like, great, I'm going to take on the insurance industry and with no real help. But Representative Steffen really listened to us, stepped up to the plate, and helped us craft an amendment, which you didn't have to do, and helped us sell it in the Senate. So for me personally, as my first initiative with the league that I kind of flew solo on, I really appreciate your support. And And that will probably forever stick with me because it was my first opportunity to move through the process on this side, you know, not being in the legislature, which I have to say, it's a little bit easier when you're in the legislature.
Right? Get your way a little more.
It's a little harder on this side. But anyway, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate you dearly, and I look forward to next session.
Thank you so much. Kurt,
All right.
again,
Thanks a lot.
We would love if we could come up there, the three of us, and if you guys could all kind of group together, and we'll get a picture with everybody, if that's okay, real quick.
We, talking about that raise order bill, I actually watched the hearings on that on WIS-I.
Yeah, okay.
So when I saw you at the conference that I was at, it's like, oh yeah, I watched that on my computer. Yeah, so I knew all about it, so.
Glad you're watching this eye.
Yeah, okay.
Mary, do you want to maybe stand up because Dave's,
Do I want to stand?
yeah,
Or we can sit, but you
Yeah.
should probably stand.
Well,
I think that'll be, I'll get a better frame there.
Not a big crowd here
let's take
tonight.
my little baby chair out of here.
Thanks for.
Yeah, thank you for taking the picture. We appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, here we go. I'm taking pictures, guys. Several of them. Filling up Tony's reel. I'm going to do one this way then. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Nice to see you now.
Find one with open eyes.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the fun part of our meeting. Thank you. Number 9, action on consent agenda, which is action on operators licenses, investment report, general fund financials for July 2022 year-to-date, budgeted expenditures, and department report. If nobody wants anything pulled, I will entertain a motion, please, to accept.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
Motion and a second to accept consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 10A, action on Class A beer, Class A liquor, cider only. License request for Quick Trip Inc., DBA Quick Trip 1270. Okay, Chris.
This is the new Quick Trip at 2499 South Point Road. They are asking for the Class A beer, Class A liquor, cider only. And they have all their paperwork in, and all the fees are paid, and Public Works and Protection Committee meeting, everyone approved this.
Move to approve the Quick Trip liquor license, Class B, or Class A, B, Class A liquor, cider only.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Class A beer, Class A liquor, cider only for Quick Trip. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10B, action on temporary liquor license extension at PMI Entertainment Group, Inc. Chris.
This one's a little different than we're used to. PMI Entertainment Group is the one that runs the Brown County Veterans Memorial Complex. So because of it's a county-owned building, we only have the beer license supplied to them. They go through the state for the liquor portion. So they're having the Great Lakes Logging and Heavy Equipment Expo, and they want to have the beer and liquor in the back. So I contacted the state, and I did get their approval to extend their premise to the back, or I should say the north side of the building, the red lot and silver lot, to allow sales and, consuming on that property. This isn't to be confused, though, with the special event application that they turned into us, because they're talking the blue lot also, but they couldn't get the blue lot because it's not contiguous with the property. So it'll be everything except that blue lot across the street by the practice field.
So what you're saying then is they're having a party event be on the north side of the Rush Center and the Convention Center?
And on the south side.
Well, on the south side, yeah.
Yep.
But they want to extend it to the north.
Right, and the reason why they don't have the red lot and silver lot is because during Packer game days, they allow people to bring their own to park there. And also when entertainers come, they have their RVs, they have their own liquor and beer in their RVs and party. So this way, they can allow that, and when they have special events and want to use those two lots, they just have to extend their premise.
So are they going to have tents, tables, and bars set up in that area then?
They're going to have vendors there, and I'm assuming that they will have sales there. If not, it would still be for people to walk around with their beer and liquor.
Yeah, Gary, for the logging congress, they are planning on having exhibitor stations in both of the parking lots.
Oh,
So that
along with exhibit.
The
Okay,
exhibit
that
is going to
changes the
extend into all those exterior areas,
picture.
correct?
Okay, that changes the picture a little bit.
So
Are
there'll
they
be no
going to be
parking in
blocking
there.
off Oneida Street for that? I remember right in years past prior to going to Madison, they blocked the street off.
My understanding is that there will be periods that Oneida Street is closed on the Green Bay portion, so from Lombardi down to, I don't know that it's going to extend all the way to Mike McCarthy, but to that, is that True Lane or Valley View?
Stadium View?
Stadium
Or
View.
Stadium Drive?
Stadium Drive, excuse me. My understanding is that there will be periods during the Congress in which that will be closed to traffic.
Are they going to have exhibits in the Packer parking lot then too?
That I do not know. I don't know, Chris, if you've heard anything directly on that, if that's in the actual Lambeau Field Stadium parking lot, but that being in the
Green Bay
city,
then.
that's in the city of Green Bay, so we wouldn't necessarily be privy to that.
Okay, all right. I know they used to, I remember the logging, it's a big event for Green Bay, Ashwaubenon and Green Bay. But being with the new convention center, they really expanded this from the way it used to be, so. Seeing there's exhibits in that northern portion, I'm thinking, boy, that's a hell of a party to have that big of an area, but I understand the exhibits, so they do show a lot of equipment there, so. All right, I don't have a problem with it then.
Is that a
If,
motion?
no other questions, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the temporary liquor license extension for PMI Entertainment Group. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10C, request for street lighting on Blue Ridge Drive. So there was request, right, Joel, for Blue Ridge Drive street lighting?
That is correct. A resident actually reached out to Trustee Zerbal recently, within the last few weeks anyway, about the possibility of adding an additional street light, which would eventually be, which would be a mid-block light, if you will, along Blue Ridge Drive. Now, portions of Blue Ridge Drive currently have street lighting at all intersections, and certain sections of that roadway have mid-block street lights as well. However, upon field review, the section between Marley Lane and Ori Lane is the section that does not have the mid-block street light. And with Packer traffic and pedestrian traffic after Lambeau Field events, the residents in that area feel that an additional mid-block light would provide some added security and safety for those motorists and pedestrians coming to and from the stadium, especially after dark. Traditionally, the village has only put in street lights outside of arterial and collector roadways at intersections, curves, and end of cul-de-sacs. So this would be a special request by the residents to place a street light. It's my understanding in the past, the village board has authorized those. However, it does require the residents that are going to be receiving that traffic light or have that street light placed near their yard, that they somehow approve that, give some consent, if you will, because sometimes street lights could be viewed as some type of nuisance, if you will, because of the added light. So again, between Marley and Ori Lane, that section is about 1,000 to 1,100 feet in length. If we were to split that difference at about 500 to 600 feet in length, the three properties that may be affected by that would be 1197, 1189, and 1181 Blue Ridge Drive. So approximately these three parcels here. What staff is proposing is if the board authorizes, is we would reach out to those 3 property owners and see their willingness to allow for a traffic light to be, a street light to be placed adjacent to their front yard. And if given consent, then we would come back to the board with cost proposals from WPS for a leased street light for that location. Street light would be, of course, placed within the village right of way. So we have the authorization to place the light in that area, but it will likely be split between 2 of those 3 properties. Generally speaking, we kind of split the difference and fit it in adjacent to the side yard of both of those 2 properties. So staff is just looking for direction from the board. If that is something of interest, we would reach out to those 3 property owners, see if there's any interest or willingness to allow us to do that. And if so, then we would come back with a proposal on costs to the board for consideration.
I would also like to see Valley View included in that. Actually, having driven that at that time of night, it is extremely dark coming in there. People walking all over the road. So it is definitely a safety issue. So I think the resident in Blue Ridge probably is making the right call there. I would even additionally look at the next block to the west. No, it gets tough, but Valley View for sure should be included because that's the one that runs all the way through to Ridge. And there's a lot of people. It's not the car traffic, it's the walking traffic because there is so much walking traffic coming from the stadium up those streets. And of course, you always have somebody trying to race out of there with a car, and the more light we can have there, the better it is. So I would actually, for sure, I would include that same block of Valley View. And then I would also consider the 2 blocks to the west there. Steve, do you know where I mean? You know where I mean, Steve? The one past Marley, going to Argonne there. That's, I mean, those streets are really dark.
Yes, so I think part of the issue is the trees.
Yeah.
Like Valley View you mentioned, Valley View has a light that's mid-block. Blue Ridge has a light that's mid-block between Marley and Argonne right now. The trees are less mature.
Gotcha.
But yeah, as you get closer to the stadium, those trees are very mature out there, a lot of maples. And I think that's the issue too, is that even the lights that are out there, they're getting blocked by the canopy.
Yeah.
So we can reach out to WPS and have them, their electrical designers, take the tree canopy into account and see it may be multiple lights, and then obviously the expense goes up and the nuisance, for some people might be an issue too, but we can explore all that.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to do that because, I personally have came into that area after a night Packer game and have picked people up, and then driving back down through that area, yeah, it's pretty dangerous. I mean, and the more light we can have through that area, the better off it'll be. So, yeah, I think it should be explored more.
The first thought I got between Argonne and Marley, there's businesses along there. And I'm sure all those businesses have lights on the backside of their building like any commercial building does. I don't see that street being that dark as if it was on any other street. I think we'd have to take a look at that before we even give that some discussion on how much light does penetrate on the street. Second of all, you keep putting lights in the middle of blocks and you're going to have more people coming up here asking for the same thing.
Yep.
And I know long blocks in our village have one in the middle of the block. I happen to live on a street that has one on each corner and one in the middle block. When the village, or when they need to have that, they've done that when they developed that area. So I would be very cautious on what you're asking for here because you're going to have more people.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but I think in this case, because of the safety of the night Packer games, you can justify that's the reason we're putting them there, as opposed to just somebody putting one in the middle of a block in an area where there's not that kind of traffic.
One of the things too that we always have to remember is that we will have to contact the residents
Yep.
as to whose house it would go in, because a lot of them don't want it in their yard. They like the lighting, but they don't want it in their yard. So, you know, that'll,
Joel, did you talk to the resident, or was it just Chris that spoke with the resident?
No, I did in fact speak directly to the resident. Yeah.
Was there major concern, just the safety and the lack of lighting? Was there any concern about the number of vehicles going through there and the speed of the vehicles? Was that an issue at all, or was it mainly just the lighting portion of it?
Just lighting, and then obviously the volume consideration as it relates to pre and post game traffic activity with Packer games.
I think one thing in this whole area we need to be aware of or cognizant of as we go forward is Brookwood Drive has been totally redeveloped, and that road is very calmed right now. So I'm sure it's pushing quite a bit of traffic down to Blue Ridge and Valley View. So we're going to end up having, I think, a lot more traffic on those roads than we've had in the past, because Brookwood is not as much of a straight shot through, go through fast as it used to be. I think the lighting is a good idea. With lighting, you get a crash reduction rating of up to 25%, so it will help that area and make people more visible. But I think we also need to keep in mind, this is not the end all. We need to really keep this in mind and try to keep an eye on this area, because we're going to get more and more pressure as people start moving further on those south roads to move through the area.
so, or do we want to take the direction that we would like staff to entertain this thought for that stretch of Blue Ridge? Okay, Gary doesn't.
No.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion not to proceed with this project.
Is there a second? Not hearing a second, the motion fails.
I would make a motion to have staff look into it further. I talked to Chris, the representative from that area, and he would like us to look into it as well. And have maybe WPS look at it, see what the light levels are out there right now and what their recommendations would be. Then we can make a good informed decision on what's really going to make a difference. So I would make a motion, we go ahead with it.
I second that.
If I could ask from a staff perspective, just a little bit further clarity and direction. So if we're looking at basically from True Lane to Argonne Street, including Valley View Road and Blue Ridge Drive, if those are the streets and the scope of the area, that gives us solid direction then as to what we're making contact with as far as resident contacts as well as WPS. That would be greatly appreciated from a staff point of view.
I would say True Lane to Argonne would be the place to look. Maybe initially just looking at Blue Ridge, because that's where the concern has come from, and see what we find there, and then see how it goes. And maybe we want to expand that and look at some of the other roads in the future. I don't know, Jay, what you think about that?
Yeah, I still firmly believe that Valley View should be included in the initial research so that we can see what can be done. And then we can come back with the information, we can decide from there.
We got a resident living on Valley View that's sitting over at the table. What's your thought there, Greg?
Considering the light is directly across my driveway, I have no problems. But the trees do block it. Go one driveway over and it's virtually not there.
Right. So that's what I would like to talk with WPS about, because it's senseless for us to put all these different streetlights up, and we're going to pay for that monthly lease fee, plus it's a couple $1,000s to put it in there, and the trees are blocking it. It doesn't make any sense. Something other than just putting a light in needs to be looked at.
Yep. Well, and the trees would be our responsibility for pruning, correct? To keep the light.
Yeah, any of the street trees would be our responsibility for pruning, but we can certainly talk to WPS as far as light angles, light structures, things of that nature. Maybe there's a different lighting system that could be installed.
That'll be better in a more treed area.
Right.
Doug gave us a little speech on street lighting. If the street lights are going to be replaced with LED, they produce a lot more light. Mm-hmm. That's an easy fix. and see where that goes first.
Right, like I said too, once some of these residents are contacted, there may be
Story
several
might-
of them that,
Story might change, right?
Yeah.
they may want the street light, but they don't want it in their yard and so.
Yep, yep.
So do you need more clarity on the direction?
So I just want to make sure that we're either including or excluding Valley View, and then other than that, I think with that motion, we would have sufficient direction.
I think for the initial study, let's include it, and then we can decide from there. Because we can
That,
we
the
can always
motion would have
exclude
to
it.
change then.
Yeah, and I would recommend that Tracy make that change to her motion, because I think it would originated with Tracy.
Correct.
All right, so I would make a motion to look at from True Lane to Argonne Street on Blue Ridge and Valley View, staff work with WPS to get light levels and see what's option out there.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Does everybody understand what we're directing staff to do? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
1, no. Thank you. 10D, action regarding requested site plan review for the Coachway condos, 2011 Holmgren Way, parcel VA-54-1. Aaron?
Great, thank you. The proposed site plan is for the Coachway condos at 2011 Holmgren Way. The proposal is for an 81-unit, 12-story mixed-use condominium with commercial uses on the first floor. The proposed condominium would be on the northeast corner of Mike McCarthy Way. The site is currently zoned SE, Sports and Entertainment, which does allow for this type of development. In addition, a conditional use permit was approved earlier this year for a height up to 140 feet for the proposed condo, and the developer has obtained FAA airport height approval. Exterior materials of the building will meet site plan review requirements. It will be a mixture of glass wall systems, concealed fastener wall panels, and extruded porcelain open jointed rain screen system with lattice accents. There will be a total of 3 levels of indoor parking with a total of 164 stalls, which is almost double the proposed number of units, actually over double the number of units. Additional amenities in the condo include a fitness room, common room, theater room, tenant storage, dog spa, and conference room. Visitor bicycle racks will be located outside the ground floor on Holmgren Way elevation and the Mike McCarthy Way elevation for the commercial uses. A secure bicycle storage room is also located in the northwestern corner of the basement level. The Ashwaubenon Site Plan Review Committee and Planning Commission both recommended approval with staff conditions. And I'll list out those staff conditions here for the record. Address is to be 2011 Holmgren Way. Meet all applicable requirements of the Ashwaubenon Site Plan Review and all other applicable village ordinances. From engineering, verify that new sanitary, water, and storm laterals are being requested and existing laterals are not being utilized. Coordinate with village engineering regarding any road or lane closures requested during construction. Again, from engineering and stormwater management, verify the location of stormwater runoff to Mike McCarthy Way. This property is tributary to the Ashland Avenue Pond, so there will be a buy-in into the pond as opposed to providing on-site system. Public safety had no comment. Forestry, it's a conceptual landscape plan provided. They're asking for a final landscape plan prior to building permit being issued, and Bike and Ped had no additional comments. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, Philip Barson of Barson Corp, developer, is in the audience, and we have representatives of the development team from Engberg Anderson online as well.
like Aaron said, that came in front of the site plan review committee, and they gave us one heck of a nice description of what the building looks like. It is a first-class building. We really questioned a lot of things, and we were well satisfied with this project. So that's my thought on it. I'll leave it open to anybody else's question.
Gary, was the lighting more I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, more internal, like you can't see it out as much, it's just on the building, it looked like in the pictures. So it doesn't like glare out at all, it looked like.
Why don't we have the developer ask or answer those questions if we can open the floor for him?
Phil,
I,
Move
do
to
this.
open the floor.
I'll move to open the floor.
okay, we have a motion and a second to open the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. I need your name and address for the record, please.
Philip, I live at the Bohemian Park. I would direct that question to the architect,
Okay,
if that's okay.
okay. Did you hear the question, Mariana?
No, can you repeat that, please?
Sure, I was looking at all the lighting, and it looks like it's some really unique lighting. Is it lighting that is more, wouldn't have as much glare, it's shining more back onto the building than out away from the building, the way it looks?
Yeah, that's correct. So we do a photometric, and that was provided with that. So all the lighting will be go to basically to the building. Nothing's going up, and the things that they're going up so high, like a high that it will not go to the sky. So everything should be controlled to be in the building. Nothing going to be out the building.
Thank you.
Okay.
Light fix.
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
So we provide light fixtures, cut sheets, and some photometrics, and we are open to meet with our lighting consultant if you have more questions.
No, it just looked like some really unique, kind of beautiful lighting, and I was just wondering if it, was more towards the building than a way it appeared that way, so I just wanted to check.
I
That
think if
sounds
you
like
look
it
at
is.
the right and the left side of that photo there, you see the light shining on the building.
Yeah.
And as it raises up, it comes to a peak. It does not exceed the building's height, or does it go out beyond the building itself. So I think it's
Yeah,
done very
that's
well.
correct.
Can you explain to me where the access point will be for the retail area that's on the north end of the building?
So we have an access from the patio in the plaza, just right in the corner. You can go in that side where he's pointing. You go to the residential area, and then when you go to that facade, not that one, behind the trees, that one, you can access to the retail area. Right now, we're planning that may be one space for retail, but if we need to add, do a division of 2 retail spaces, probably we're going to have some access at the west area where the piers are, the short piers there.
So the access point will be for the apartment as well as for your retail is the same spot? Is that what you're
No.
saying? No, I'm sorry, I
No,
misunderstood.
there are 2 different access, but there you can access from that plaza space.
Oh, okay.
I think if you look on page 10 DE, you'll see how those lights work, so they do not go away from the building. They stay within the perimeter. There's no other questions. I believe we need approval on this to proceed with the project as presented. Oh, we got to close the floor
Yep.
first.
Can I just ask one other quick question? And maybe this came up at your meeting, Gary. Do you know what the rents are going to be for that facility at all? Have you set rents? Because I had a couple people ask me about that.
Purchase, right?
These are
Oh,
all
these are
condos.
purchase?
Yes, this is all purchase condos.
Condos, okay. Thank you.
Yes. All right, I'll move to approve the project, I lost my top page here, as presented on the, here we go. The
floor
Coach
first.
Lake condo at 2111 Holgram Way, parcel VA -41-1, 54-1.
I'll move to close the floor first.
Oh,
Yep.
good
Second.
thought. Good thought, Jay. Moving too quick here.
Motion and a second to close the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, Gary, now,
All right.
I'll second Gary's
just say,
motion.
Do I have to
Okay.
say it again?
no, Jay seconded it.
I second it.
All right, there we go.
Motion and a second to approve the site plan for the Coachway condos at 2011 Holmgren Way, parcel VA-54-1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
With staff conditions?
I'm sorry.
With staff conditions
with
as
yep.
presented.
Yep.
With
second
staff
that, yep.
conditions. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, thanks, everybody. 10E.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. 10E, review and possible action on automated refuse truck quotes. So, Mr. Burr, it's exciting to buy a garbage truck.
It is, a lot of details to talk about.
A lot of money, you know.
So I think this, if I remember right, this thought or this concept was brought forward this spring. You know, there was discussion about, because of the nature of the vehicle purchasing environment in the country and whatnot, staff was directed to send out for quotes and get some prices that we could bring back, to village board, with the understanding that this was basically a handshake agreement with the vendor of choice, and then we would, put the dollar amount in the 2023 budget. So that's what's before you guys tonight. We had gotten quotes from 3 different vendors for 4 different garbage trucks, and I guess the staff recommends, the New Way Sidewinder. It's not the cheapest one. We do have one of those, and we have had really good success with it, so to speak. The mechanics like it. They haven't had to work on it per se. The drivers, like how it handles. We have one of those in operation. This would be a second one, almost identical to what we have. The other vehicles bring up a couple of questions. The Labrie, the cheapest one in years past, that was the most expensive truck. So we're kind of questioning why it went from the most expensive to the least expensive, and it was bought out by this vendor. So we didn't get a chance to demo that one. And other local municipalities have Labries. They've had some issues that we know of. So we kind of are steering away from that one. The next one, Loadmaster, we didn't get a chance to demo that one as well. And then the most expensive one, the Heil, we have a couple of those, but price wise, we wanted to kind of stay below, not pick the highest one. So we are recommending, village board to consider, the move forward with a handshake agreement of a future purchase with Envirotech equipment on the New Way Sidewinder for $316,423.
Okay, any question?
Steve, I'm sure you went through this quite well. Is the boys down in the shop happy with that particular truck? They're the ones we got to please.
No, exactly, and that's what they're recommending is the new
They are
way.
recommending.
Yeah,
Okay.
without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
That was going to be my comment. What do Spencer, Mike, and Tim say about which one is probably going to be the best? And
Yeah.
those guys are like magicians back there, and so I
They
always,
know more about that than we do.
yeah.
That is correct. Yep.
So.
Yeah.
All right, if no other questions, I'll move to approve the budget for the automatic, or put it on a quote for the automatic refuge truck.
The second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second
Next year's budget.
for the 2023 budget, but to get our name out there, to get our number in line, for $316,423. Any other comments?
Can I just ask one question? Let's say we go through the whole budget process and all of a sudden we can't afford this in 2023. How is this going to impact the vendor, and do we have any responsibility to purchase it then?
Well, I think part of this process is we are actually committing to that, recognizing that other sacrifices then may need to be made, in particular on vehicle and asset replacement, because we are making a commitment to this piece of equipment now in advance of that budget year.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. That's what I figured, but I want to make sure.
Right. But also, this was something that I know I had talked with the Public Works too about, because of the new development that's in the southern part of the village, and then also the development on Broadway, and we needed this for that development stuff. So, okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 11, any items for next agenda? I'm sure there will be some. So if anybody has anything, give the office a call. Number 12, closed session items. During the meeting, the village board of the Village of Ashwaubenon may convene into closed session pursuant to 12A, 12B, and 12C. The village board may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 parent 2 to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. I need a motion to go into closed session, please.
Second.
Motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
President Kardasky,
Yes.
Trustee Paul,
Yes.
Trustee Krieger,
Yes.
and Trustee Flukie.
Yes.
We're going to go into closed session. All right, 50 minutes.